Since your machine is attacking, it's using its 2 points of attack power. It's standing on grassland terrain. This terrain has a value of 0. This means your machine's combat power adds up to 2 points. My machine can't use their attack power since they're defending their position, but they have the higher ground. They're standing on forest terrain, which is worth 1 point. This means my combat power adds up to 1 point. Now, the front of my machine is colored blue. This means that the spot you're about to attack has armor protecting it. Which means if we compare the combat power of both machines, you'll see that you won't be able to do any damage. Whenever you're unable to top an opponent's combat power, you can still choose to attack and break their machine's defenses instead. Go ahead, try it out and see what happens. Ha, see? When you break a machine's defenses, you can knock it backward. Sure, both our machines will receive 1 point of damage, but knocking my machine off that terrain makes it more vulnerable to attacks. Not only that, if my machine had been blocked from moving back, it would have received an extra point of damage. And if my machine had been blocked by another one of my pieces, that's why breaking a machine's defenses is to deal damage to several pieces at once. Useful, right? Okay, now go ahead and end your turn. There's still one more thing I want to show you. All right, as we've seen, the higher the terrain, the more it'll add to your machine's combat. However, there are 2 other terrains that work a little different. This is what we call a chasm. Only flying machines can be placed on though, but it'll take away 2 combat points if you do, so be wary. This is marsh terrain. Landing on it'll also keep your machine from moving for the rest of the turn. Here, let me show you. Grab that machine on your left. See? All you can do now is wait for your next turn to move again. Or you can still attack any nearby enemies so you're not Well, I think that's enough yammering for me for now. Promise it'll all come in. Here for more tips? Why don't I tell you a bit more about the pieces we used to play? In a normal game, you get to choose which machines you place on the board. Each one is worth a certain number, and you can spend up to 10. Knowing what each machine brings to the game and building an army that matches your strategy is the key to becoming a machine. When assembling your army, there are a few things to keep. First and foremost. You can never have more than 4 of the same machine on the board at the same. With that in mind, most players would choose machines based on how far they can move or how much attack power but a real strike player will be looking at a machine's type. Let's take a quick look, shall we? Pick up that machine on your left. All right, let's talk about the different ways in which a machine, in other words, its machine type. If you look at your notes, you'll see this machine here. You can also tell by the shape of the base the piece stands on. A melee-type machine attacks the first. We've seen this plenty of times, so just move that piece forward so I can show you some more stuff. Great, now grab your other machine. Looks like we've got ourselves a gunner-type machine here. This means they'll only hit the farthest enemy in their attack range. Let's move that machine forward and end your turn so we can take a look at. Let's go with this piece first. This is a ram-type machine. Attack an enemy with it, and it'll push like this. See, now my machine has taken over your machine's spot on the board. This is a great way to take the advantage away from your opponent if they have. Looks like we have one more piece to look at. Now this is a beauty of a piece. A dashed, when it attacks, it'll move to the end of every machine in its path, including your own. So make sure you take a good look at the board before you send it off. You should also make sure it's able to finish its attack on an empty. Otherwise, you won't be able to attack. Here, I'll show you. Look, it even rotated your piece. A nifty little piece you'll definitely want in your set. If you look at your notes, you'll notice this particular machine has one of the skills. There's quite a few of those, and but I'm pretty sure you've got more important things to do. It's got all the tips and tricks. I think that about does it for now, so if you want to play a real